Welcome to the True Assassins podcast. Get ready for a wild true crime mystery story inspired by the dark world of murder, hitmen, and assassins, all delivered in a fun and entertaining way. Make sure to rate and follow the show for more addictive true crime stories. I'm Adrian Smith, and I'm excited for today's case.
And I'm Julia Jones. Today we're looking at Jane. You know, on the surface, she's just your typical housewife, but
Oh, there's always a but.
always. She's hiding something truly extraordinary.
Okay, so we've all seen that bored housewife with a secret thing a million times. What makes Jane different? Why is she true assassin's material?
Well, her secret isn't another guy or a gambling addiction or anything like that. She's a highly skilled assassin. We're talking contracts, meticulous planning, the whole nine yards.
Wait, hold on. So we're talking PTA meetings and bake sales during the day,
Mhm.
and then silenced pistols and dead drops at night. That's insane. What does the case file say about how she got into this? Did she have training or something?
It's actually a bit of a mystery. The file focuses more on her current, operations and the psychology behind her double life. What we do know is she's incredibly efficient and methodical. Like, it mentions she gets these detailed dossiers on her targets with their routines, habits, vulnerabilities, everything she needs to do the job clean.
So it's not just about the kill for her, then. It sounds like it's about the strategy, the puzzle of it all. What kind of details does the file give about a typical job?
Well, this file walks us through a recent assignment. It involved a man named Stephen Grant, a 42-year-old suspected of embezzlement. The file gives his whole daily routine, his associates, even the security system at his home. Super detailed.
Wow, so she's not just winging it, she's doing her homework. But that must take a ton of time. How does she balance all that with, being a housewife, the carpools and the grocery runs, all that?
Right. That's what makes this case so fascinating. It seems like the contrast between her normal suburban life and her, assassin persona, that's what keeps her going. Almost like the kill is an escape from the mundane.
Living in two completely different worlds. Talk about compartmentalization. But this case, this Stephen Grant guy, it takes a turn, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. It gets really interesting. Imagine you're prepping to, take someone out, and then you realize they're about to become a regular guest at your family dinners. Turns out Stephen Grant is about to be her husband's new business partner.
Oh, wow. That throws a wrench in things. What does the file say she does? She can't just go through with it, can she?
That's what I thought too, but Jane is resourceful. She can't back out of the contract, but taking out her husband's partner, disaster, right? So she has to get creative.
I bet this is where that whole suburban housewife thing comes in handy.
Yeah.
She's going to be thinking on her feet, keeping up this normal image while coming up with a new plan, all under pressure. What's her next move?
Okay, so the file describes a neighborhood block party. Picture this. Jane, picnic basket, a seemingly innocent batch of brownies. She leads Stephen into a wooded area, pretends she forgot the wine.
Hold on. Did she poison him with brownies?
The file doesn't explicitly say it, but it definitely hints that those brownies were more than just a sweet treat. Remember, this is a woman who thrives on control, on planning everything meticulously. She wouldn't leave anything to chance.
Okay, so she gets Stephen alone in the woods. Then what? Any details about the actual kill?
Well, the file says gunfire erupts from the trees. It's staged to look like a robbery gone wrong, self-defense. Of course, with no body ever found, the police don't suspect anything.
So she takes out the target, makes it look like self-defense, no evidence. That's cold. I guess also kind of brilliant if you're, in that line of work.
Exactly. And this is where the whole bored housewife thing disappears. It becomes much darker, more complex. She's outsmarted her client, who's obviously shady, and the cops. She turns a disaster into a win. The file even mentions she gets a thrill out of it.
That's what's so crazy about this case. It's not just the killing. It's the control, the manipulation. Her husband, the client, everyone's a pawn in her game. This file shows us she's not just skilled, she's dangerous.
Absolutely. And what's even more unsettling, it seems she's getting better at it, more confident. Like, this Stephen Grant thing, as stressful as it was, seems like a turning point.
So what's the takeaway here?
Well, for one, appearances can be deceiving. We make assumptions about people, based on how they seem, but Jane shows us anyone is capable of anything.
And don't underestimate anyone. This seemingly normal housewife is playing seasoned criminals and the police. It makes you wonder, what else can she do?
That's a great question, and it's one we're going to dig into more when we come back.
We're back on the True Assassins podcast. I got to say, this Jane Doe file, it's pretty chilling. A suburban hit woman outsmarting everyone. That's Nightmare stuff. Oh, and great podcast material, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely sticks with you. And before, you asked, what else is she capable of? The file doesn't exactly tell us the future, but it hints at a change in Jane.
Yeah, I remember thinking that too. It's not just about like completing the contract anymore. It's almost like she's enjoying it.
Exactly. That's what's so interesting. Remember that detail about her feeling a thrill when she realizes she can manipulate everyone? It's not about survival anymore. It's about power.
So is she thinking of going rogue? Like setting up her own operation? Being the one in charge? I don't even know how that would work with the life she has.
It's deeper than just a job change, I think. Remember, she's already outside the normal criminal world. This file, it shows someone drawn to the manipulation itself, being the puppet master.
That's a scary thought. Like everyone around her is just a pawn. What about her husband? He's got him in a dangerous spot.
Oh, yeah. The file actually mentions she thinks he should watch his intake to avoid any unfortunate accidents. Not exactly reassuring, is it?
It's messed up. So not just eliminating threats, but controlling everyone.
Right.
What's her motivation here? Just self-preservation, or is there something more?
Well, the file goes into her psychology a bit. It suggests a lot of it comes from, like, the expectations on her as a woman, a wife, a mother, almost a rebellion, but in this twisted way, by having all this secret power.
Huh, that's interesting. So not just a power trip, but a weird kind of empowerment. Does the file connect her suburban life to her assassin techniques at all?
There are definitely parallels. Like, the file talks about her planning skills,
Yeah.
essential for running a household, right? And also for a successful hit. And her ability to compartmentalize, to keep those two lives separate, that takes serious mental discipline. Scary, but impressive.
It's like she's weaponizing those skills society expects of her, but using them in this dark underworld. Does the file say anything about how she justifies her actions? Like, morally?
That's where it gets murky. No talk of guilt or anything like that. It's more about the practical stuff and how she copes mentally with her double life.
That love of conscience is what makes this so disturbing. She's not just good at killing, she's embraced this whole worldview where manipulation is how you win.
And that brings us back to your question. What else is she capable of? The file doesn't give us a clear answer, but it shows someone who's always evolving, getting better at what she does, and at manipulating people.
So the takeaway is, beware of housewives with perfect kitchens. That's kind of terrifying and unfair to all the good bakers out there.
No, not exactly. It's more that appearances can be deceiving. Jane's case, it shows that anyone, no matter how they seem, can have secrets, desires we don't even suspect.
It's like a reminder to never underestimate people. Even the most normal-looking person can have hidden depths. And sometimes those depths are pretty dark. That's a thought, isn't it?
It is. And while it's easy to focus on the exciting parts of this case, the killings, the manipulations, the real point is how it makes us question our own perceptions. How well do we know anyone? And what do we choose to ignore just because it's easier?
Those are some heavy questions.
Yeah.
But that's what makes a good true crime story, right? It's not just about the violence. It's about how it makes us think about the world, about ourselves.
Exactly. And that's what makes the True Assassins podcast work, I think. We're not just retelling stories. We're going deeper, looking at the psychology, the societal stuff, the things that make these stories connect with us.
Well said. You know what gets me about this file? It's how it shows Jane changing. From this, like, average housewife to this, like, mastermind. Makes you think about the stuff people hide.
Yeah.
Have you ever, like, been totally surprised by someone you thought you knew?
Oh, for sure. It definitely makes you realize we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. But with Jane, one of the creepiest things is, like, the missing pieces. We don't know her past. What made her this way? The file mentions those societal pressures, but there's so much we just don't have.
Yeah, it's like we're only seeing a tiny part of the story, these glimpses into her head, how she does things. But the why, that's a mystery. Makes her even more, I don't know, interesting.
Totally. And it shows how powerful a story like this can be. By not explaining everything, the file lets us imagine. We fill in those blanks ourselves, coming up with our own ideas about what made her who she is.
We're all detectives trying to figure her out. That's what makes this case so good.
Us.
It's not just the excitement of it, but the psychology, the moral stuff, the questions it makes us ask about people in general.
Exactly. Jane's story, it forces us to look at some uncomfortable truths, about good and bad, about who to trust, about the stuff people hide.
And how that line between normal and, well, not normal, can be so thin. A regular life on the outside, but maybe hiding something really dark. That's a pretty intense thought.
It is. And it's easy to get caught up in the crazy parts, the hits, the lies. But the important thing is what it says about us. how we see people, how we judge. Do we really know anyone? And what do we ignore just because it's easier?
Big questions there. But that's the sign of a great true crime story, right? It's not just about the violence, it's about how it changes how we see the world, how we see ourselves.
I think so, and that's what makes the True Assassins podcast different. We're not just rehashing stuff, we're looking deeper.
Yeah.
The psychology, the social factors, the things that make these stories matter.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So folks, we've reached the end of another dive into the world of assassins. Hopefully you found Jane's story exciting and maybe made you think a bit too. Remember, the world's full of secrets, and sometimes the most normal-looking people are the ones hiding the most.
Stay safe, stay informed, and don't forget to rate and follow the show for more addictive true crime stories. We'll see you next time.